It's Friday, January 23rd, 2026. Welcome to episode 188 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, labor troubles at AUSD. The latest from City Council. One of Alameda's largest employers gets a new owner. The latest development in the Shane Killian quintuple murder trial. Changes at the Seaplane Lagoon Ferry. The latest real estate sales and weekend events. These stories and more on this edition of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story, Alameda Unified School District and the Alameda Education Association, which is the union of AUSD teachers, counselors, speech and language pathologists, nurses, and school psychologists, have been trying to negotiate a contract for almost a year. Thursday evening, the two groups participated in a mediation session to try and come to an agreement. At recording time, the outcome of the session was unknown. However, if the session fails to produce an agreeable contract, an independent third party will look at data from both sides and make a recommendation. If issues continue to remain unresolved, AEA members will go on strike. AEA sent out a poll to its members, and of the 95% who responded, 91.5% said they were willing to strike. That translates to roughly 87% of the total membership. There are a few issues. Let's start with salary. AEA is asking for a 9% raise, while AUSD is willing to give 2.3%. The proposed 2.3 is slightly lower than the current inflation rate of 2.7%. Teachers and staff last got a raise of 7% when the AUSD school board voted to approve an increase in April of 2024. The union noted that AUSD Superintendent Pascal Scuderi signed a 3-year contract last year with a built-in 6% increase each year. AEA President Judy Ganley stressed that she and the union members are happy with Scuderi's performance as superintendent and believes that he deserves his compensation and salary package, but that, quote, everyone should be paid according to the level of contribution they're making, end quote. Benefits. AEA is asking for AUSD to cover 50% of family health insurance premiums, which would be about $1,500, while AUSD is willing to pay $1,168, which would fully cover one employee but not family members. AUSD currently pays $1,021.41. Class size. AEA is asking AUSD to honor agreed-upon class sizes and not push middle and high school classes past 33 students. Special education. Turnover is currently high in the special education department, with low pay rates cited by teachers as a primary reason. Currently, 48% of special education paraprofessionals are contractors, which district financial statements reveal cost the district $1 million more than direct hires. Both sides agree more state funding is definitely needed. For more details, see Gene Chen's article at alamedapost.com/news. As this is a developing story, be sure to check in with alamedapost.com as well as our social media feeds for the latest. In other AUSD news, the district has announced the beginning of the naming process for the new athletic field at Encinal Junior and Senior High School. Community members have expressed interest in the naming process after the ribbon cutting on January 9th. A committee will review name suggestions from the public, forward a list of finalists for a vote by the board. Community members can submit names using the online suggestion form through February 16th. Details and a link in Ken Durr's article at alamedapost.com/news. As previewed in last week's episode, on Tuesday, City Council reviewed and provided feedback on the disposition strategy for leasing and sale of properties within the reuse area at Alameda Point. Base Reuse and Economic Development Department head Abby Thorne-Lyman updated the council on the city's strategy. In the reuse area, unlike in the development areas where private developers deliver infrastructure, the city must finance and build the infrastructure itself. Since 2020, estimated costs for completing the remaining infrastructure have soared from $700 million to $900 million, primarily due to inflation. The work is phased around 3 infrastructure loops coordinated with EBMUD water service requirements. Phase 1 infrastructure is complete. Phase 2 water infrastructure is in place. The city now needs to generate funds to complete $43 million in Phase 2 backbone infrastructure. Thorne-Lyman emphasized that land sales alone are unlikely to fund the $900 million in infrastructure needs, noting that an average price of roughly $2.55 million per acre across all remaining land would be required, which is an unrealistic expectation under current market conditions. Thorne-Lyman highlighted 3 key properties for focused attention. Building 41, proposed for a long-term lease with option to purchase, despite being Navy-owned due to its high value in Phase 1 infrastructure access. Building 11412, that complex is considered for a long-term lease and sale due to high rehabilitation costs, including a $12 million roof replacement, and the belief that a private developer could more efficiently redevelop the space. Bachelor enlisted quarters have been identified as a significant long-term burden, with staff seeking creative disposition and adaptive reuse options, including potential residential uses. Mayor Ashcraft emphasized that Alameda Point serves city-wide purposes, including the ferry terminal, transitional and supportive housing, nonprofits, and employment, and suggested that the city should reconsider how rigidly it limits funding for improvement there. Despite the scale of the challenge, council members expressed confidence in the staff's strategic approach. In other business, City Council voted to adopt the 2025 Zero Waste Implementation Plan update, unanimously approved 2 5-year leases with Kai Concepts LLCs for portions of Building 168 and Pier 1 at Alameda Point. Council also approved a 5-year lease for a new Alameda Fire Department administrative facility at 1001 Marina Village Parkway, allowing fire administration staff to consolidate into a single modern location while remaining within the department's existing budget. Full story in Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. Alameda's Penumbra Incorporated, the medical device company founded in 2004, has agreed to be acquired by Boston Scientific Corporation in a cash and stock transaction valued at approximately $14.5 billion. Penumbra manufactures devices for interventional therapies to treat vascular conditions such as stroke and aneurysm. Penumbra's chairman and chief executive officer Adam Elsesser said in a San Francisco Business Times report that the two firms, quote, share similar cultures within our company and feel strongly that combining these strengths will further accelerate growth, end quote. Elsesser will join the merged company's board of directors. In an article on medtechdive.com, Boston Scientific CEO Mike Mahoney said they plan to keep Penumbra as a standalone company. Story at alamedapost.com/news. July 10, 2024 was one of the darkest days Alameda has endured. That was the day that Shane Killian allegedly shot and killed his wife, Brenda Morales, their 2 children, and his in-laws at the family home on Kitty Hawk Drive. Killian is facing 5 counts of murder as well as other felony charges. At the preliminary hearing last Thursday in Oakland, Brenda Morales' uncle, Hector Morales, testified that about 20 minutes before the killings, he received a phone call at his home in Arkansas, with Brenda crying and saying she wanted to move to Arkansas because Killian would allegedly fight with her out of jealousy when he got drunk. A neighbor, Crispulo Castillo Vinlan, also testified at the hearing. He said he was showering when he heard several loud booms. Initially, he thought the blasts were leftover fireworks from the 4th of July, but then he heard his doorbell and saw Killian's wounded father-in-law, Miguel Carcamo Ramirez, at the door. Carcamo Ramirez said Killian had shot him and the rest of his family. When the hearing concluded, Alameda County Superior Court Judge Clifford Blakely determined there was enough evidence for Killian, who pled not guilty, to stand trial on the charges. Full story at alamedapost.com/news. After Groundhog Day, things won't be quite the same at Seaplane Lagoon. Starting Tuesday, February 3rd, the city is bringing in new dedicated security guard service along with midweek paid parking. To offset the cost of the security service, parking will cost $3 per day on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but will continue to be free on Mondays, Fridays, and on the weekends. Details, including instructions on how to pay, at alamedapost.com/news. As we do every 2 weeks, time to take a look at residential real estate sales, courtesy of Liz Rush. Another slow period over the holidays, with only 6 properties changing hands, all 6 on the main island. Prices range from $775,000 to $1,390,000. Full details in Liz Rush's article at alamedapost.com/real-estate. Amanda Laird is back with a list of events worthy of your attention in her weekly All-Around Alameda column. Tonight, Friday, Altarena Playhouse kicks off the 2026 season with Fully Committed, a one-act comedy that follows a day in the life of Sam Pelazowski, an out-of-work actor who works the red-hot reservation line at Manhattan's #1 restaurant. To further add to the zaniness, the show's 40 characters are all portrayed by one actor, Samuel Barksdale. Saturday night, break out the love beads, head to Rhythmic's Cultural Works for Wild Women of the 60s, performing the hits of the era. Also on Saturday, the annual Alameda Elks Lodge Crab Feed. Yes, it's Dungeness time again. On Sunday, Bike East Bay presents their adult and teen Learn to Ride class at Waterfront Park. And on Sunday, ARPD invites the community to the Basketball Open Gym at the Alameda Point Gymnasium. Details in the All-Around Alameda column at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Hope you can join me Sunday morning at 8 on KCSM HD2 or streaming on kcsm.org for the latest episode of the Alameda Connection. My guest is Gia Schneider, co-founder of Natel Energy, the Alameda company making hydropower safer for fish. Some amazing technology for a greener future. Find the Alameda Post on all the social media platforms. Subscribe to us on Apple News. Sign up for our weekly news digest at alamedapost.com/email-digest. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 189 of Alameda Postcast.